Greetings, I'm Doc V. And what I want to talk to you today about is things that I didn't understand when I was younger. I think I get it now. When I was young, I watched a lot of TV and saw these shows, Father Knows Best, The Partridge Family, The Brady Bunch. And it seems like people went through their struggles and they always just kept coming out on top. And I said to myself, I'm not going to be like those people in the streets that are begging for help or that have menial jobs, just labor and jobs that don't pay much, where you have to count your pennies to decide where you're going to eat and where you're going to go for entertainment or where you're going to live. I didn't get it, why people just didn't apply themselves, get scholarships, go to college, and try to better themselves. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't get it. I remember one of the older brothers at the church where I grew up. I was a little kid, and one brother was driving the truck and he was doing manual labor where he came home dirty and his hands cracked, and another young man was loading up fountain drinks into the machine so people can come by and put their 50 cents in or a dollar and get something to drink. And I said to myself, I'm not going out like that. I'm going to do better than that. I didn't get it. Well, to make a long story short, I did go on to college and earn my degree, and I said, I'm going to be something. Let me go down to Atlanta and apply myself and really do what I need to do. And why are these people on the MARTA bus? And why don't they have a car? And why aren't they taking care of their business? I didn't get it. So anyway, I got this job, acquired this job, had a good interview, had my shirt and tie on, and tried to look good, tried to do what I need to do. And I was hired, and I worked at a copy center where they made documentation. We did documentations for companies and corporations in the metro Atlanta area. And I was pretty good at what I did. I was very thorough, I was very detailed, I communicated well, I dressed sharp. And one day they brought this young man in. At the time, I was probably late 20s, early 30s. And they brought this young man in. He was not African American as I was, and he was young. And I heard that he just got his GED. He was 18, 19, he didn't graduate from high school, he got his GED, and they asked me to train him. So I trained this young man, trained him, showed him how to work the computers, how to do the data analysis and everything. And I felt real good, and the boss shook my hand and said, thank you. Next thing I know, they said we had a new supervisor. And the new supervisor came in, and it was that young man that I had just trained. And I was like, wait a minute. I just trained him. Why didn't they make me the supervisor? Found out later that he was the nephew of the cousin of the owner of the company, and there was a connection there, so he got the job. And I was devastated, but I needed my check, so I just kept working, kept doing what I needed to do. And I said, I am going to get myself promoted. So what I did was I designed a plan. I designed a marketing plan where I could hire some other clients and put together a proposal where they would be able to supply us with revenues based on their need. I calculated, interviewed the churches and the small offices in the business area of this particular township. And I made a proposal. It took me weeks to put it together, about 20-page proposal, had the numbers and everything. And I turned it into the supervisor, turned it into the boss, the owner of the company. And I said, all I am requiring is to be the manager over this particular unit. Turned it in, went back to work the next day, felt real good about what I was doing. I felt real good about myself. And next thing you know, I got a letter from the supervisor, and they said that I was terminated. They said that I had messed up a job or messed up a packet for a serious client and that I had to go. I knew that this was not the case. I knew that their attitude was, how dare you try to promote yourself in our company? You need to be happy with what you're doing and not try to move up. Know your place, stay in your place. I felt that I was discriminated against, but I couldn't prove it. I just didn't get it. Why can't I be accepted in certain positions, in certain areas of a company? Anyway, I lost a job and I was kind of in desperation mode and I needed to work. So I called a friend who was working with a waterproofing company. Waterproofing is when there's water damage in the basement of a house or a business, and they go down with big machines and they crack the concrete at the bottom and they lay rock and they lay tubing and they guide the water out into a lower area where the water damage is no longer existent. So I was able to get the job because I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I still had a full head of hair. My beard was black and I was strong. Working out at the gym, strong, eating good. So I was picking up rocks in a wheelbarrow, running them up a hill, dumping it, coming back and shoveling rocks from the wheelbarrow, working the jackhammer, working hard. Must have lost about 10, 15 pounds, but I was strong. I was healthy, and I thank God for my health. I was making just enough to pay my rent, just enough to pay my little car note and get some groceries and go back to work again. I didn't get it. Why am I working this hard? Why am I working this labor job when I've got my bachelor's degree? What is the problem? So anyway, while I was at one of the jobs, one of the clients, this middle-aged white male, I was about 30 at the time. He looked like he was about in his 50s at the time. And he pulled me aside. He said, "Hey, young man, you want to make some money? I got a little job for you if you want to make some money." And he said, the waterproofing jobs that our company does is probably $2,500, $3,500. And he needs me to come in and do something on the side and make some money. I said, okay, I'll come back. He said, could you come back on that Saturday? I said, yes, I'll come back. He said, come with some work clothes on, ready to work. So I came back on that Saturday and he said, what I'm going to need you to do, I'm going to need you to dig this trench about a foot deep and a foot wide, maybe a foot and a half deep, foot wide, and guide it from the back of this area at the house where he had broke some rocks out and there was some more water damage, but he did not want to pay the $3,500. He wanted to get a discount. I said, I got you. So he showed me where he wanted to dig, where he wanted the trench dug, and laid some flags, some little flags in there. And I got there early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I just started digging by myself, digging out dirt, running it up the hill with the wheelbarrow, digging out dirt, about good 30, 40-foot trench, maybe longer. I was digging, laid the rocks in there for him, got it all done. And he said, wow. He said, good work, you're strong. And I know that I saved him at least $2,500 minimum. And I said, wow, I'm going to really make some money. I know he's going to pay me at least $800. At least $800 he's going to pay me. And I was thinking, man, but if he just pays me about $4 or $5, that's rough, but I hope I get $800. So anyway, I rinsed the wheelbarrow out, adjusted everything, rinsed my boots off, was getting ready to get back in my car. And he says, thank you. And he opened his wallet and he pulled out $60 and he handed me $60. And I just looked at him. And I was starting to get it. I didn't get it then, but I was starting to get it. Something about my image, something about my presentation is devalued. I knew what I was mentally, I knew what I was emotionally, and I knew who I was spiritually. But it seems like people didn't care. They just were out to make their money. And because of the situation I was in, I couldn't argue with him, I couldn't fight him, I couldn't demand more. So I took the $60 and walked off. To make a long story short, eventually I moved from that job and I moved to working at a treatment facility where I started working with young kids that had serious behavioral and emotional problems, where they were locked up and they were kind of incarcerated. They couldn't leave the grounds, but they could move around on the grounds. But then they had to check in to their particular living area, recreation area, and classrooms and food and what have you. This was really a really good experience for me because I learned from the attitudes of some of these kids. Some of them were black, some of them were white, some of them were Hispanic. They all had serious emotional problems from what happened in their household. I didn't get that, and I did not want to accept that because of my race or because of my lack of connections, that I was considered less than. I began to meet and talk to prominent people in the area, trying to get a business loan, trying to get recognized for what I could do. And people were impressed, and they told me they were impressed. They said, "We like what you have here. We like what you're doing. This is a good idea." And then one day, a man pulled me aside and he said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "You could have the greatest ideas in the world, but unless you have some kind of guarantee." I said, "What do you mean guarantee?" "Nothing's guaranteed." He said, "You need collateral. Do you have a house with equity? Do you have something paid for? Do you have something that this man could hold over your head if you don't pay him back?" I said, "No, I do not." He said, "Well, then you're not going to get the loan." He said, "You're wasting your time." He said, "Further your education, work hard, save your money, and build yourself up that way." I didn't get it then, but I get it now. No one's going to hire you off the street or hire you right out of college and put you over them unless you have some kind of serious connection or serious hold on the company or have stock in the company or ownership in the company. I learned that doing all the right things, saying all the right things, dressing nicely, presenting yourself well, speaking appropriately, was not going to guarantee me success. I met people when I was on my downfall and lost my car and lost my job. I met people, black men, who had degrees, who had accomplished much, but they lost it through either a bad legal matter or a bad decision that affected their legal background, or they were injured, or they went through a bad marriage, divorce, and they became without. Also met some people that were doing well. They started a business in the right place in the right time, and they were very careful. They kept a low profile, and they were doing well. I didn't get it then, but I get it now. I might have watched too much TV, Little House on the Prairie, The Brady Bunch, The Partridge Family, Father Knows Best, and I saw how people were successful and doing well. I saw how they would go out and apologize and would be forgiven or hired back on the job. This was all TV land stuff. But when I got out of TV land and got into the real world, I learned that nothing is guaranteed and that you must work hard and you must meet the right people and you must trust in God Almighty and have faith that no matter what the circumstances are, He will bring you through. I didn't get it then, but I get it now. We only have so much control over our lives. Yes, racism and black oppression affected my ancestors, affected my father, my grandfather, and although things are better, it still has an effect on me. There's some jobs that I have learned I need not apply for. There are some places that I have learned I need not try to go through or to. It's rough, but it's the truth. I didn't get it then, but I get it now. And since I get it now, I walk a different way. I try to be careful and use my head. I can be angry, but I cannot move off of my anger or frustration. Or I could fall into a trap that would bring me back from where I have obtained. There was a time when my credit was terrible, when I couldn't get a loan, begging people for money to get a loan. And now they keep sending me checks. They throw it in the bank and sign it, and then you have a loan. I just rip it up. Or you can mortgage your house and get $50,000, and I just rip it up. Because through these trials and through these tests, what did I gain? A little wisdom, a little knowledge, based on experience and based on the prayers that went before from my parents and loved ones from the church where I grew up. And because God has a plan for me, He has something that He's put in me for me to say to young, aspiring people of all races, that you can make it, that there are going to be obstacles and hurdles in the way, but you can cut through and you can make it. A lot of our youth, they think they know it all. They think they know what it takes. Their emotions and their desires and their impulses can cause them to make a bad decision that'll set them back, set them years back. Some of them don't get it, and I hope later on they will get it, because I didn't get it then, but I get it now. I'm Doc V, and I'll see you next time. I'm Doc V, and I'll see you next time.